Well, good morning. This is Senator Dick Black. You're with Focus on the News. And so it is July the 8th. And as some of you may know, the French elections were held. They were a bit of a reversal for what they were just a couple weeks ago, which is kind of a reminder that they're very powerful forces. They're these huge banking families and so forth who can put a thumb on the scales. The people are not always getting their voices heard. But in any event, it does appear that Marine Le Pen's party has secured enough votes to where they will at least be able to put a real damper on Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, who is sort of the standard bearer for floating the trial balloon that's designed to get NATO forces into direct combat with Russia. And he put the French Foreign Legionnaires into the combat zone, where a number of them have already been killed. So, it's not that the French people want to fight the Russians. It's that Emmanuel Macron and the banking interests, the arms industries, they want to engage in World War III, and they're kind of having to drag us all into it, but they have not given up on that enterprise. Well, what we're going to talk about today is that a real dogfight has broken out in the Democrat Party. The title of our show today is Race Pits White Democrats Against Black Democrats as Biden Digs In. And what we're seeing is this tremendous struggle inside of the Democratic Party. It has nothing to do with Republicans. And you basically have very influential white Democrats who are saying, hey, look, this is impossible. We're promoting a guy for president who clearly has dementia. Everybody knows he has dementia. And we got to get a new candidate. And then you've sort of got the Obama wing of the party, who are, sort of the Congressional Black Caucus, all of the black leaders. For some reason, the Democrats seem to have left behind the Hispanics. They don't seem to have much interest. That it's a black thing. It's almost like a black supremacist movement. And they dominate the party, and so you have this struggle going on between the two factions. But in any event, we've got Suzanne Satterfield with us today. She's very bright. She's very astute, very very informed on these things, and she has been one of the big activists here in Northern Virginia and Loudoun County, where we started the big explosion over schools, and she's involved in all kinds of things. So, Suzanne, it's delightful to have you with us today.
Oh, good morning. Thank you so much. It's so kind. Your words are very kind.
Well, what do you think? What do you see happening with the election, principally with the Democrats? I mean, Republicans too, but the Democrats are particularly interesting, aren't they?
Well, your words are kinder. Mine, my term I've used last year, this year, is disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. If I were a Democrat, I would be so upset with my party, knowing that they put Biden in office for 4 years, with the DEI backup of Kamala Harris, that they knew could never lead children safely out of a building in a kindergarten school. And knowing that there's no secret, we saw it, his health was declining. and they had no plan B. They had the media bought into it, trying to hide all of this, and now, they're exposed. So you can't trust the leftist media, which we knew, but even more so now, and you can't trust the Democrat Party. Where does that ever come through? And what they've also done is they've put us as a nation in more danger than ever. We were the strong leader of the world. People look forward to us for our leadership. And the issue now with Biden is that they now, so jointly the media and the Democrats are like, oh yeah, he is sick. Oh, we're worried. Well, then why is he still in office, right? Why is he? So we are in danger until his term is over. And obviously we would be even in more danger if he continues. And also Kamala, it's been no secret in the time that they've been in office, she's had a vast amount of her staff quit because she can't even work with her staff behind the scenes. So, the DEI didn't work. The 4-year, charade didn't work. And how do you trust it? How do you trust where they're going to go? And I think they've been reporting they've lost a lot of the black male voters. The women are some of the ones that still hang on, as they have, over the years, or the single mothers are the ones that are relying on the government assistance. And that's what the party's still holding on to. But when we look at what that percentage is, how does that win that for them? It doesn't. And it's even a disgrace as well. And my other piece that I've been fighting a lot on is that the Democrats, Biden, Kamala, tweeting relentlessly these days about the party of women. They are not the party of women. When you are out there saying that you support abortion, that makes you the party of women. When they forget about that, they've promoted that men can be women now. I mean, we have them in our, leadership in the, Biden administration. They're leading our military. They're in leadership in, health and human services. They're, they just, I think, put another clown in there in communications. These men are not women, will never be women. We have not just at the sports level, the dangers that are brought on to, females, but prisons, bathrooms, you cannot change your sex. And you cannot tell me you are the party of women when you're sitting there saying women can be replaced. And it's absolutely an insult that the ACLU, all these organizations, and the Democrats are replacing the word women with the word people.
Yeah, even even the words are being purged so that to create this really bizarre illusion that that men and women are identical. It's a very strange thing that Western culture went from being sort of experimental to where they were willing to loosen up all of the mores, the moral standards, the standards of behavior, and then they've just kept marching forward, and now we're at a point where the West is truly just not rational anymore. It's one thing for people to be intelligent in the sense that they have the ability to compute. They can do calculus, they can do physics, they can do other things. But it's another thing entirely to have common sense, to be able to look at something. For example, you take a 2-year-old little girl, and at that age, at 2 years old, she looks, and one of the first things she ever says, she says, "Look, mommy, boy. Look, mommy, girl." Now, nobody taught this little girl to do that. Nobody said, well, look, you need to understand people's orientation, people's desires, blah, blah, blah. No, it's just that hardwired into every human being from the moment that God made them is the understanding that there are men and there are women. And it takes enormous indoctrination to convince people that what they know intuitively is not true. But let me shift. I want to, I've done some research a little bit, and I've come up with some very interesting thoughts about the clash between black and white Democrats that's going on. And this is really a tremendous brawl that's taking place. For right now, there is not a single black lawmaker, not a member of the House, not a member of the Senate, not a single one has asked for Biden to step aside. Every single Democrat and the one U.S. senator who have mobilized opposition to Joe Biden are whites, except for one who's a light-skinned Asian. All of the Democrat billionaires, without exception, who are calling for Biden to step aside are white. There's not a single one who's black. Michael Moore and James Carville, longtime icons of the Democrat Party, they're against Biden's candidacy. They say the guy, Michael Moore says it's an act of elder abuse to let him continue running. Both white. And so you've got this very stark split. And now they just had a big black event in New Orleans. It's called Essence. And Essence is a 4-day celebration of black culture. So the New Orleans mayor, LaToya Cantrell, said, "This is our moment to love one another, our time to come together to ensure and understand that we are unapologetically black and we deserve to be loved." And there is almost we all have black friends. We all have people we dearly love and get together socially with and that kind of thing. But the black politicians are different. There is this attitude of black supremacism, that black should be in everything. They should be the top dog at every level from president on down. And there's just sort of this unapologetic racism that has infected particularly the Democrat Party. And in any event, the Congressional Black Caucus has been really forceful in their defense of President Biden. And the feeling is, this was, I believe this was out of Associated Press, and there was an article and they said that the black leaders who gathered in New Orleans sort of walked a line between continuing to back Biden, which they want, and that insisting that if he does end the campaign, the only person that they will accept is going to be Kamala Harris, because she's black. And it says they are not about to consider Gavin Newsom of California or Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, because both of those two are white. So there's this bizarre kind of thing that the white liberals who have been so aggressive about pushing quotas for blacks and all sorts of gimmicks to provide preferences. All of a sudden they're finding they're on the receiving end, because it doesn't matter what you believe, what you think. The only thing that matters is your skin color. And it's just creating this quite bizarre situation in the Democratic Party where it's just been consumed by racism. Now, it is interesting. Senator Mark Warner of Virginia, who is white, led a push to try to organize the Democrat senators to put pressure to push Biden out of the race. And I found out just this morning that he has abandoned that effort. And my guess is, now this is just supposition. I'd give it like a 90% chance of being true. We have a congressman, longtime black congressman, Bobby Scott, Democrat, very nice fellow. I know him. And he is one of the strong defenders of a Biden candidacy, no matter what. And I suspect that Bobby Scott, perhaps at the urging of the Biden administration, got on the phone, said, Mark, we need to talk. I need you to back off on this attack on Joe Biden. And so the word came out today that Mark Warner has abandoned his efforts to organize the U.S. Senate to push Biden out of the race. My guess is that was the high point of the effort to oust Biden from being the nominee of the party. So I'm convinced, now that Mark Warner has backed out, I'm convinced that that from this point forward, Joe Biden, short of suffering some catastrophic physical thing that knocks him out, he will be the nominee of the Democrat Party. That's, as of today, that's my view. I didn't know one way or the other until Mark Warner dropped his efforts in the Senate, but I think that's kind of the kiss of death for the movement. Even the New York Times editorial board, which is predominantly black or predominantly white, even they came out, they just laid it on the front page. It's time for Biden to get out. And I think they made, the white liberal wing of the Democrat Party made this enormous effort to push Biden out. They recognize the guy, he's got dementia. He's not competent. He certainly would be in a nursing home in most settings. And they've made their push, and I think their push has failed. I think that Biden at this point will be the nominee for president of the United States.
Yeah, well, I think they have to stay with him. Like I said, if they don't stay with him, then they will be admitting he shouldn't be running the country at this point, which, most of us feel he hasn't really been the one technically running the country for 3.5 years. But, then, some people bring up as well, as outrageous as it may seem for some that they keep him, that doesn't mean they don't do something to him between now and November that can look like an accident or an untimely death. So, if we're thinking of these things, they've already thought of these things.
Suzanne, that's an interesting thing. History tells us many political figures are murdered. It happens across the world, happens in this country. I think in this case, it's kind of interesting because if something happened to Joe Biden that left the faintest trace of suspicion, I think that the Black Democrats would rise up. They would be so angry at the white liberal Democrats that it would just rip the party apart. And so I think, the people that I most suspect of being involved in assassinations on the Democrat side, I think they'll be cautious, because just the faintest trace of suspicion would potentially lead to kind of an explosion that could just go anywhere. So I of course worry about Donald Trump, because it's much easier to, for the Democrats to do that. But let's just pray that doesn't. I would just recommend that Trump's people be extremely security conscious. So we'll see. I just want to rattle off some of the people who came out. Either they did this privately or publicly. Well, first the private opposition that's been bubbling within the House of Representatives. You've got Jerry Nadler of New York, white. Representative Jim Himes of Connecticut, white. Representative Mark Takano of California, Japanese American. You have Representative Adam Smith of Washington, white. Representative Joe Morella, New York, white. You have Representative Susan Wild, white. And then there are 5 lawmakers who publicly called for Biden to withdraw. Representative Lloyd Doggett of Austin, Texas, white. Seth Moulton of Massachusetts, white. Representative Raul Gribala of Arizona, white Hispanic. You have Representative Angie Craig of Minnesota, white. Representative Mike Quigley of Illinois, white. And then, of course, you have U.S. Senator Mark Warner of Virginia, white. Now, Mark Warner has abandoned his effort to organize the opposition in the Senate. So if you look, this is a very stark divide when you know that not a single Black Democrat has come out. There's a couple more. Julian Castro, former head of HUD, white Hispanic. Former Representative Tim Ryan of Ohio, white. And of course you have Michael Moore, white. James Carville, white. You've got the predominantly white New York Times editorial staff. And then here are billionaires bailing out on Biden. You have Barry Diller of Paramount Studios, white. Diane von Furstenberg, white. Christy Walton of Walmart, white. Michael Novogratz, a crypto guy, white. Reed Hastings of Netflix, white. Patty Quinlan, white. Mark Cuban, Shark Tank host, Jewish white fellow. So you can see as you rattle off who are the people who have stepped forward. I have to say, responsibly, while I disagree with all of those people on a vast array of issues, I don't condemn them for what they did in trying to push Biden out, because he clearly does not have the mental capacity to do what he needs to do. By the way, Dr. Kevin Kennard of Walter Reed Hospital has now, for the last 2 years, he has been visiting frequently with President Biden. Kevin Kennard is a neurologist who specializes in treating various neurological illnesses using Botox, and in some cases for people who are having problems like that, Botox can assist to stop drooling and that type of thing. So that just came out in the Washington Examiner recently. So it's a crazy time. Now, the Republican National Convention is just about to kick off. What you have any thoughts about what might happen there?
Not at this point. I think a lot of people across the U.S. have accepted Trump as the our nominee and our next president. What I've said to people, again, put aside those that me don't like certain things about his demeanor and whatnot. I said, to me, this should be the easiest race of our time, presidential race, because he served for 4 years, and he served for 4 years not that long ago. So we know the state that our country was in for safety, economically, and from a leadership. We didn't have this nonsense of this Rachel Levine, saying he's a female and having to accept this, the other guy, the panty luggage stealer that he had over there on the other energy department and so forth. I mean, the circus show that has gone on is a complete embarrassment. But there's, again, so many other things. And that's what I keep trying to say to people. Whoever says that you like anybody who's running for office 110%, whoever says you really know these people. But what I have said is you have somebody who ran this country, ran it successfully. And what I also mention is, look at his family, look at his children. Even though he's had divorce and so forth, his kids are college educated. They are working, they are independent. Where have you don't see that in the Biden administration. You don't see that in many of the others. Look at Jimmy Carter's, family. I mean, it was his brother, of course, but look at the end of the day, that should say something also for who his children are as adults now. That should say something. So to me, they should hopefully be completely united to help bring this through November, and buckling down their election districts and be ready to energize people to be there at every battle place along the way, from ballot boxes that are drop-offs that are being there and having somebody watch them. And that's what they need to do. That's about the best thing that I can think of as a party at this point. There shouldn't be any other distractions along the way. And the Democrats are I don't think we should over focus on that. And we should focus how we as a party are going to unite and get this through successfully through November.
Yeah, I think I spoke with the head of the Republican Party of Virginia, Rich Anderson, very, very fine leader. And he is airborne going, or I don't know where, let me see that. Anyway, he's, I don't know whether he went by air car or what, but he's on his way to the convention. And Um, and so everybody is beginning to congregate. I went to the convention in 2016, and it was very, very exciting, tremendous activity. I remember being interviewed by Dana Bash, and had all of the turmoil and so forth, the crowds yelling in the background, so forth. It was very exciting, and I think for the Republicans, it's going to be a tremendous party. It's going to be a blowout party, and because I think at this point there's essentially emerged a total unity behind Donald Trump. When he won the election in 2016, Republicans actually held control of both the House and the Senate. But the Republicans who were in office were so adamantly opposed to Donald Trump, opposed to the will of the public, opposed to the voters, opposed to everything that Donald Trump had campaigned on. And so from the very beginning, they just dug in their heels and just fought him. Now, it's been a couple of weeks now, but Politico had a very fine article, and it was, if anyone wants to look it up, you can just put Politico, 5 things that will be different for Donald Trump, something like that. That's not the exact title, but if you Google it, that'll get it. And basically, they were laying out area by area things that are dramatically different this time than before. And the first one that they discussed was Congress. And they laid out the tremendous list of opponents and what has happened to Trump's opponents. They've been defeated. They've been, some have retired. Some of them have jumped ship because they knew they couldn't compete. Same thing in the House of Delegates or House of Representatives, where there's just been an absolute purge. The voters disagreed with the Never Trumpers, and they booted them out of office. So this time, if Trump wins, he will have a Congress that's going to be very receptive to what he's attempting to accomplish. And likewise, they then talked about the courts. The courts are much more favorable. And I think the big story in the courts is that the courts, they may not be, real conservative on social issues. They're certainly much better than they were. But where they are real conservative is rendering earth-shaking decisions that tend towards moving our form of government back to the U.S. Constitution and the way that the founders planned it, taking away discretion from the bureaucracy, returning it to Congress, principally, to where now the monkey's going to be on the back of Congress instead of having these vague, fluffy pieces of legislation that they pass, and then letting the bureaucracy make all of the real laws. They're going to have to set precise standards, and they're going to have to stand up. And could you imagine, Suzanne, if you were a congresswoman and somebody came into your office and said, "Hey, look, we want to amend Title IX dealing with women's sports opportunities, and we just want to put in a change that will include men who wear dresses." And you're sitting there behind your desk. Now, I know what you believe, but I'm saying you're just a woman generally, and you're sitting as a congressman thinking, all right, so I am going to have to face the voters and explain why I think that men should be put in the locker rooms with women. Now, how would that play out at election time? Well, the answer is pretty obvious. It's going to make the congressmen, congresswomen, far more accountable to the public than they have been for so long. So it's a great environment for Trump, and really great opportunity for the nation. And but we will see. So because of the vast mechanisms for voter fraud, because of the fantastic wealth of the Mexican drug cartels, who make literally, they may be making trillions of dollars by this time on illicit drugs that flood the world. I don't count Joe Biden out by a long shot. There was a reason that they flooded all of these illegals into the country and put them in key locations where they could go and cast votes. And they know where they are. The cartels fronted the money for a lot of these people. Now, many of them, they charge about $10,000 a piece to move people across the U.S. border. But they also fronted millions and millions of people. And when you're beholden to the drug cartels, they don't just wave at you as you cross the border and forget all about you. They want to know every move you make. They want to know where you are. They want to know your phone number. They want to know your email. They want to know who your wife and your children and your husband, who those people are. And when they give you an order, they expect it to be followed. So I do not count out Joe Biden. I hope and pray that it doesn't happen, but if we were to wake up and discover that 3 or 4 million illegal aliens have been ordered to the polls and they managed to swamp the Republicans, it would not be the biggest surprise of my life. So we'll see what happens. But Suzanne, thank you so much for being with us. You have any final comments as we get ready to go?
No, it's always a pleasure. I mean, I learned so much from you as well. And it's amazing when I think it's been 4 years since our big fight in Loudoun County, and how important it is to, keep this going, because again, what happens locally can also happen nationally, and it is. And, we can't take a break. You can't take a break from it. And, of course, I have no ill will of, wanting anything tragic to happen to Biden. So I don't want that to be taken in my comments earlier, but unfortunately it's just how evil that these people may be. And, just gotta hope, pray, and get out the word. Lastly, keep talking. I was at Lowe's, by us, before heading out on vacation, and they took out in Leesburg all the checkouts. There's no more checkouts with people at the register. So of course there's a young guy that's looking over the registers, as you go through, and I'm like, oh, well, there we go. This is another part of this administration, and, taking away jobs and giving people less opportunity to talk to each other, right? You visit at the cash register and so forth. And lady in front of me, she turned around and she said, "Preach, sister." And then I saw that the kid working there, he sparked up. And so I started talking, and I kind of feeling the nonverbal, elbow from my husband. Yeah, they don't want to, be bothered with this. And the kid actually said, no, he said, "This is great. I'm learning." He said, "I really appreciate this." And so, we talked for a couple more minutes, and I said, "Okay, so if you're seeing this too, and this is how you feel," I said, Please continue these conversations, continue them with your friends, continue them with your families, and please get them out to vote. If you feel as strongly as I do, I said, please continue this, because that's how we're going to keep making progress, is by having all of these type of conversations.
Well, that's great. And thank you so much for everything you do and all your work on the schools. I think working together, because of the explosion at the Loudoun County School Board, we started a nationwide movement to reform public schools. And in the process, we got a Republican governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general. I don't think that would have happened had it not been for the fuse that was lit, and the dynamite that was political dynamite that was set off that day. So anyway, thank you very much. This is Suzanne has been with us. Suzanne Satterfield, very, very fine person that I admire a great deal. This is the end of our show today. This has been Senator Dick Black with Focus on the News. We will see you again next Monday.